Hey, this is Dan of Dan H411 Guitar Lessons, helping you to just pick up the guitar and go and play guitar solos over any song in any key with ease and confidence. And today I'm going to look at phrasing. So what I'm going to do is over the next few lessons we're going to look at some different phrasing techniques or different phrasing ideas. And what I mean by phrasing is I mean that we can play scales all we want, but when we're playing a song, when we're playing a lead over a song, even if we're playing all kind of different notes in different orders, if we're not using certain types of phrasing, then it's just going to sound, boring, right? So you could play something like this. And I think I hit the wrong note there, but something like this, right? But if I use phrasing with that, and use different techniques, it's going to sound a lot better. So the first phrasing or technique that we're going to look at is going to be the mythical dad bend, which is kind of what I did at the beginning there. And this is something that Rick Beato and Tim Henson talked about a year ago on their channel, and Tim Henson used the phrase dad bend for old 70s and 80s guitar solos that always end on that high note, And if you listen to Tim Henson or some of these progressive artists like Periphery or Polyphia, then you'll notice that they do a lot more tapping, a lot more arpeggiated stuff. They still have a lot of good phrasing in what they're doing, but that fanfare of, it doesn't exist too much in their music, okay? When they want to hit something that is kind of a high note or whatever, it's more of a legato phrase or something like that. I'll be honest with you, I don't quite get into that kind of music as much. I've talked about this in previous videos, so my understanding of that is limited because I just don't play that way. Just like if I was asked to teach somebody chicken picking, right? Country music chicken picking or something like that, I wouldn't be able to teach that either because I just don't play that way. As I've said many times though, there's only 7 notes in your scales. So all of the music is using the same ideas and concepts. It's just the way they phrase is a little bit different. Now for me, I like the dad bend. I like the dad bend, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. So I'm going to show you a few different ideas on what I mean when I say the dad bend, or what other people mean when they say the dad bend. And then you can go ahead and take these and fool around with these. So we're going to use the E minor shape, which is going to be played at the 12th fret at 12, 14, 15 on the 6th string and the 5th string. And then 12, 14 on the 4th string. And on the 3rd string, we're going to play 11, 12, 14. And then on the 2nd string, we're going to play 12, 13, 15. And on the 1st string, 12, 14, 15. So it's going to be played like that. Now that right there lends itself to lots of those dad bends. For instance, if you just played the whole thing straight through, like for instance, if you're at the end of a solo, and you just go ahead and play the whole thing straight through and you want to end on that high note, you can play like that. And there's your dad bend, okay? Now, when we're doing these bends, what we want to do is we want to bend up to the next note that would be in the scale. That's kind of the idea there. It might be a half step up or it might be a whole step up, which is where some people have a difficult time with vibrato, and I'll do another lesson on that coming up. Or they might have a difficult time with keeping it in tune, right? If I was playing over a backing track right now and I hit that note, and I didn't go up to the next note in the scale, you can even hear that right there. It doesn't sound right. It sounds off. Even without a backing track, it just sounds off. So I want to go up to the next note of the scale, which would be going from the 15th fret to the 17th fret. So from here to there. So I'd want to go. I think I went a little bit too far there, but you want to train your ear to listen for that. Now, it's similar to playing a trombone because you're in a chromatic area, right? You're able to play in between the frets, but you can play all the notes in between the frets. Those microtones. So we're not just limited to the, right, the 15, 16, and 17. We're not limited to that. We can play all the microtones in between, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. The good thing, well, let me talk about the bad thing first. The bad thing is that we can hit the wrong note very easily, right? Instead of going from here to here, we can go right until we get it. The good thing, though, is that you can use vibrato to smooth it out. And what I mean by that is shaking the note. So bending up to the note and then shaking the note. So if you go a little bit too far past it, or if you don't get quite to it, you can kind of shake it around to find it. So if I was playing this run and I wanted to hit that note and I didn't quite get to it, I can go ahead and like that. You can use a little vibrato on it. Okay, I'll explore that a little bit more in a future lesson. But basically, we don't want to just stick right there. We want to put some stank on it, right? So you might be thinking to yourself, well, what about hitting the right note in the scale? Like for instance, this is the E minor box or the Aeolian box, and the root of this, or the tonic, takes us back to the E. And that's obviously not the E. And you're right about that. It's going to depend on the song. When we're talking about hitting the note that you need to end on, you're probably most likely going to want to hit on that note that is the root of the song, right, or the key of the song. So I'm going to use these terms tonic, root, and key kind of interchangeably. They're not quite the same though, and I'm going to get a lot of flack over that. So let me just explain real quick. The root refers to the root of the chord. So if I was playing an E chord or an E minor chord, then the root would be the E. So if I was playing that E scale, that root right there would be the E note. Now the tonic of that scale is also E. But if I back that up and played the shape prior to that, then that would be your tonic right there, which is actually the D note. So if I'm playing a song that's in the key of E, the scale that I'm playing there is technically a Mixolydian scale. If I was playing over a song that's in the key of D, it would sound D Mixolydian. But since I'm playing over a song that's in the key of E minor, then what that's going to be is it's still going to be within the E minor scale. It's going to be the seventh shape of the E minor scale. But the tonic of that shape is going to be your D Mixolydian, even though the root of this E chord is still going to be E. So if I wanted to end on the root of the chord, I would want to end on an E. Can you end on other notes? And the answer is yes, you can. You're going to have to use your ear and listen to the song and figure out what sounds best. In future lessons, of course, I'll come back and use backing tracks and I'll show you how to actually flesh that out. But I just want to kind of put that in your brain and make you think about it. Like when you're playing a song, if this is in the key of E, and I go, that's obviously not E, right? That's a completely different note. But it still sounds okay. And what if I ended the song there? It would just create a lot of tension and kind of drive the brain to be like, there's not a resolution, there's not a resolve. But if that's what you want to do, that's okay. Or you can go ahead and keep on going until you get to the E. Right there. Okay, and if you want to hit on a high note, right there. And if you want to bend, then we'll go to the second string, which is at the 15th fret, and bend up to the 17th fret on the second string, which is your E. And put some stank on it. Okay, so that's kind of what you want to do there. Now, that's the idea of just bending up, getting that big crescendo bend at the end of a solo. Something, along these lines. And that's one of the things I would consider a dad bend. But another one would be your bends within like double stops. Like a lot of 70s songs did a lot of stuff like this. And again, we're still in the E minor scale. And what we're doing here is we're playing a double stop on the 3rd string at the 14th fret and the 2nd string at the 15th fret. But what we're going to do is we're going to separate those notes. So I'm going to bend the 3rd string up, and I'm going to bend the 2nd string up, but they're not going to go up at the same rate. I'm not going to take them both up at the same time. Like that. I'm going to bend the 2nd one up just a little bit. And I'm going to bend the 3rd one up a little bit more. 3rd one's going to go up whole step. 2nd one's going to go up just about a half step. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's not in the scale. And it's not. It creates some dissonance, but it actually sounds better than bending both of them up a whole step. And again, put some vibrato on it. And you might want to even just leave the 2nd string where it's at, not even move it up at all. All I'm moving up is the 3rd string at this point. But it creates a little weirdness when I don't bend it a little bit. If I bend it a little bit, it sounds better. And you can do that across the 2nd and the 1st strings. And also, that would have been at the 15th fret on both. Or we can do the 15th fret on the 2nd string. And this one I like as well. You hear this in a lot of rock music. The 15th fret on the 2nd string, but the 12th fret on the 1st string. That creates some nice tonality. It's dissonant, but it creates some nice tonality. You hear that in a lot of songs where the lead ends like this. And basically I'm doing the same thing, I'm just going up the scale. Another one you might hear in a lot of country or blues music is stuff like this. Or this. So this one right here is just going to be kind of that dissonant thing that we did on the 1st and the 2nd strings. But it's across the 2nd and the 3rd strings. Now, on the 3rd string, we're at the 14th fret. And on the 2nd string, we're at the 12th fret. We're also playing the 12th fret on the 1st string. I'm just kind of raking up the strings. And you can do that kind of fast. Kind of creates a little blues lick. The other one, where we do this, we can go ahead and play, again, 14th fret on the 3rd string. Now 15th fret across the 2nd and the 1st. And then just come back. And then when we hit that bend, drop the bend. So we're dropping the bend on the 3rd string and we're going to the 12th fret on the 3rd string to end it out. So, and again, that's not the E note right there, but it's a great ending note to that scale. So kind of combining all that together, you're basically just going to get used to doing bends. So we're not just playing the scales anymore. And we're not just doing vibrato when we get to the end of a scale and the last note of that scale, but we're also bending and using vibrato to kind of get us into that, stank groove, right? So a lot of stuff like that. And that's what I would consider dad bends. Don't forget that I got lessons out here every single week. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be putting out some of these phrasing lessons just to get you to understand not just how to play the scales, but how to actually, play these things with some cool licks and things like that. And my lessons come out every single week. And then if you want kind of a foundational knowledge of everything that I do, I've also got a free course out there. It's at tinyurl.com danh411. I am working on a new name that I'm going to have pretty soon. I'm going to be working on a domain name and custom email and all that crazy stuff. And if you look back here, I got my room set up a lot better. And I'm getting away from the green screen thing and kind of getting more into some ambience. I think this is kind of cool. I've also got my shirts out. Just pick up the guitar and go. So if you want to check one of those out, you can go over to linktree.com/danh411. You can get the link to my course there as well. And you can also check out my socials and my merch and all that cool stuff. So support me, support the channel. I keep putting out free lessons for you. But if you want to go ahead and go deeper, then get the free course, tinyurl.com/danh411. It'll give you the free course, show you 7 days how to unlock the fretboard, how to see the fretboard code. And then, of course, you'll get on my email list. I'll send you some emails about things that I do have out there for sale, like courses, my Patreon, my merch, things like that. So if you want to check that out, that's awesome. And we're still kind of at the beginning. I'm still in the first year of doing this. So I've got all kinds of music that's going to be coming out pretty soon. And I've got more lessons and courses and just all kinds of cool stuff. So stick with me. I think it's going to be a wild ride. In the comments, let me know if there's any dad bends that you do that I didn't think about. And I'll see you in the next one.